Welcome to the James Rice Show, a humorous, entertaining, and sometimes thought-provoking look at teaching and studying abroad. Join the conversation as James guides you through his experiences and provides insights into how to improve your English and how to improve your teaching of English. And now, here's the man you've been waiting for, James Rice.
Coming up on this week's episode, online learning and teaching can be fun and rewarding. We welcome Anesh Daya from On the Spot Language to tell us how, all coming up on The James Rice Show. Welcome, students and teachers, to this week's episode of The James Rice Show. I am James, broadcasting from Toronto, Canada, with our lovely producer, Stephanie. And I am the author and creator of the Study It ESL textbooks, one of the creators. We have great books out there: conversation, grammar, pronunciation, listening, business, teens, kids, all sorts of different textbooks for your digital learning. Yes. And students, you can download them. Teachers, you can download them. Use them on Zoom. It's great content, and thank you to everybody for trying out the books. If you subscribe here to our show, you can get a free Study It textbook. So thank you for those teachers that have been trying it out. I'd love to hear how it's working out for you. I'd love to hear your feedback. So don't forget to send me some notes and tell me what you're doing with it. I've had students tell me that using the Study It books with the Zoom lesson online has been the greatest experience of their young English careers. Yeah, I mean, that's just online. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, because we've been hearing so many horror stories out there about learning online and teaching online. You know, I wanted to share some success stories with you. So Anesh Daya from On the Spot, he's going to join us a little later, and we are going to talk about all the amazing successes we've had, both he and I, teaching online and telling us what the students are doing online. That's so awesome. So that is going to be coming up on the next part of the segment of the James Rice Show. Don't forget, Tuesdays we have the IELTS tip of the week. So if you're studying for IELTS, listen every Tuesday for new episodes that focus on IELTS exams. Wednesday, we have English is Crazy. It's a 1-minute segment that is so much fun to produce. Talks about kind of the history of where words have come from around the world, and it's fascinating. Thursday, Teacher Talk. So if you're a teacher, you want some advice on teaching English, listen to Teacher Talk on Thursday. Friday, ApplyWave.com. The ApplyWave girls, Mackenzie and Lisa, stop by and give some study abroad tips. So for students, if you want to study abroad, they have some amazing tips for you. And you know, last week they did high schools, so you could listen to that one if you want to go to high school, or if you're a parent wanting to send your child abroad. They did a great segment on high school, studying abroad in high schools. And Saturday, we have our free English lessons. So lots of different content for you to enjoy. So horror stories of online teaching, horror stories of online studying. Oh my gosh. And more language school closings. I'm very, very worried about the future of language schools and the future of studying abroad for learning English or whatever language. It's really getting scary out there, and I really wish all of my colleagues well. Hang tough. It will get better. Stafford House shut down their USA operations, which was a bit of a shock. And English New Zealand, which represents 22 English schools in New Zealand, said that out of there's only like 3,000 students at their schools in March. So 3,000 students going into 22 English schools. And they're estimating that number is going to fall by 85% by September. And usually they get 20,000 students a year, and they're only getting 3,000 into 22 schools. Very dangerous. Marketing English in Ireland, that's an organization of language schools in Ireland, has said that they expect their revenue to decrease, to go down by 80% in 2020. I mean, this is all shocking news. And I mean, it's happening right across the world in every industry, but man, it's hard to watch this happen to such a great industry, studying abroad, changing the world, seeing the world, and opening up, so many opportunities for international students. To see this happen to our industry is really hard to watch. Having said that, though, many language learning computer platforms, so online platforms, have been getting some huge venture capital funds from USA to Singapore to India. This week, millions are being poured into online language platforms. Yeah. It is the future, everyone, whether you like it or whether you don't. Language schools, you got to get on board with digitizing your content, with getting a platform, with being comfortable with the platform, and to teach online. And students, you've got to be ready to learn online. This is going to be the future, whether it's language or something else. For a company, perhaps, you'll be doing training online, and you'll be doing meetings online. And this is the future. So let's take a look today at how to make studying and teaching online a success. Coming up next.
Have you downloaded the Study It ESL textbooks yet for your classroom? The Study It textbooks are the first ever digital and interactive textbooks. Once downloaded, Wi-Fi is no longer required. Each book contains video and audio exercises, detailed grammar keynotes, reading and writing assignments, and amazing speaking projects. Grammar, conversation, pronunciation, business English, and listening textbooks are available. Visit www.studyitbooks.com for more information.
I'm very happy to welcome Anesh Daya to the James Rice Show. Anesh Daya is a regular contributor here to our show and the founder, CEO of On the Spot Language in Canada. Toronto's unique language program, onthespotlanguage.com. Correct? Did I get that right?
You got it. Absolutely. Hello, James, and the James Rice fan base out there from all over the world.
That fan base is growing.
It is, and congratulations on all of the success, especially being nominated as one of the finalists for EdTech as a speaker and author. That's brilliant.
Yeah, that was a nice surprise. So
it was, and it's also good to acknowledge that you were a great speaker at our disruptive education conference as well. Talking about EdTech and all even you continuing doing your studies, in online and EdTech and everything else. It's brilliant, and you're doing great.
And what is great, is actually people like you who've been working hard and supporting this little podcast that we started a couple of years ago. And so I appreciate you as a guest and a regular contributor here, coming on, spending an evening chatting about whatever is in the ESL world. And what is going on right now is online learning. And I know that you have had some great success stories. So before we get to some of those success stories, I want to just go back a little bit, and because you are an owner, you are a school owner, and COVID-19 hits Toronto, hits Canada, where you're based. How did you feel? What was going through your mind when this hit as a school owner?
So I hate the word school again, but
sorry about that. I should.
You said program. You did say program, so that was good. But given the fact that our numbers were fairly small for the time of year, and also the fact that our program is so intimate with a 1-to-3 language coach and student ratio, that it didn't really affect us too much in the beginning. But once we said, as we're part of the Center for Social Innovation. We're all about community building. We're all about getting out and talking to strangers.
Right,
and,
right.
Once everyone is saying, don't go outside, or even our building where we are based at CSI, when they said, hey, you know what? We're actually taking precautions, not having anyone else, any entrepreneurs, any business come to CSI.
Come into the
And I said,
building, yeah.
come in the building. So I said, okay. So I took my current students at that time and I said, okay, here's what we can do. I'm already connected to thousands of people in our community, in our CSI community. And I'm just connected to a lot of people as well. So I said, maybe every day online we'll have a 30-minute session and I'll invite different people to come on and we'll have a chat with them using sentences that they've learned and that they've practiced, as we call focus sentences. And every single day, or almost every day, we had a different guest come on and be part of our class. And we did it all on Zoom. And it was amazing. Suddenly students were actually, it was a different way of putting them on the spot, so to speak. And so they're like, suddenly people are asking these random questions and they're like, oh my goodness. And, fortunately, this is a new norm for them. So, for them, talking to strangers was comfortable before.
Now they got to talk online.
For most people, right?
Yeah, which is a different skill. It's a different skill set in some respects.
And one of the great things that I found that really came through when they were doing this on these online sessions with me and other people in the community is we developed conversation mind maps with students. These really large mind maps where they can actually reach out and grab a conversation about hobbies or ask deep questions or about their job or telling jokes or historical facts. Like they had all these conversations in their head that they could reach out and have a conversation for maybe 2 or 3 hours if they wanted to, which is super powerful.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm hearing, everybody, students, we've talked about this in our past episodes where we're talking about what is the future of work. What is that going to look like? And what I'm hearing here from Anesh and what we talked about in some of the previous podcasts is flexibility and creativity. Two things that Anesh has hit as a school owner with, sorry for using the word school, but as an owner of a language program, and he's hit with the pandemic. I mean, and there's 100,000 businesses in the U.S. that have gone out of business. They're gone, small businesses. And Anesh here has taken, lemons and made lemonade. And that's a creative and flexible thinker. That's the future. That's what we're listening to right now is the future of work.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, being able to pivot and then still stay true to your core values and what you're about and what your business or your methodology is about. We're still about, developing confidence, being able to talk to strangers, which you can do online, build community online. You can still do all of these, things that we still strongly believe in. And so what I did once there was a complete shutdown and all the students were like, okay, I got to go back. My mom's calling me back in 2 weeks. I'm going to take the next flight back to, back home. And then the students who were supposed to come, they're like, can I get a refund? And I'm like, okay, yeah, no problem. Or you could, just wait until possibly the end of the year. So we had to deal with a lot of that. And, with some government support, we were able to stay afloat. But what I did immediately, I said, well, how many students have I had in the last 11 years of on-the-spot language? That's a boatload, like many. So I started setting up these mini Zoom chats, or, it could have been on Google as well. But I reached out to previous classes, like groups of 3. And I said, are you available this time to have a mini chat? Let's just catch up, see how you're doing. So every single day I had meetups with previous classes that I used to have. And I said, what are you doing? And of course, at the end is like, are you still interested in keeping up your English? And they're like, actually, yes. And I said, well, right now I'm offering this, online language coaching. And it just blew up. Almost every student is like, yeah, can I do online language coaching with you, Anesh? I go, okay, I'm just going to give you the heads up. Like I've always said, time is money. And I don't want to waste your time and I don't want you to waste my time. And these are where the aspects of language coaching came in. It's not like, okay, turn to chapter 2 and I'm going to talk about this. I'm like, number one, what are you doing in your life? What do you need right now? Why do you need me? Like I go through like a questionnaire with them. And then if I'm going to do 4 sessions with you, meet up with you once a week, what do you want to achieve at the end of these 4 weeks? Right? And so I really got into their lives and what they want to do, what they want to get out of it. And that's what I did for the first month.
And what I'm really happy to hear, and what I'm proud, because I'm a very close friend with Anesh, and I've watched him grow as a teacher, as a business owner. And what I'm so proud to hear, and what I'm so proud to know about Anesh generally, is that he has spent his time and effort taking care of his clients, his students. And when SARS hit my school back in 2003, all the schools that were my competitors, they were focused on how do I save $1 or $2? Do I jam people together in classes? And do I mix levels? And it's not about the student experience anymore. It's about how do I make money and save money. And what I'm hearing from Anesh, and what I did as well when SARS hit, and what I've talked about during this whole pandemic, it's not about the future of your school. It's about right now, and using the students that you've had in the past, that you've made good relationships with, who feel strongly about you and support you. And if you've done that as a school, as a business, as a language program, as a tutor, whatever, if you have provided that service, then when troubled times hit, you can reach back in, and those people who have spent the time with you will come back and will support you and will open the door. And maybe they will not be in the program, but maybe they'll introduce you to somebody else, or they say, hey, I have a friend who would love to join your program because Anesh, we love you. And that's what I'm proud to hear from you, Anesh. Congratulations. That's 11 years of hard work, and that's 11 years of being a good owner of a business. So congratulations.
I appreciate that. I mean, it like you said, it all comes down to loyalty to the brand, the vision, what you're all about, which is one of the great reasons why I'm glad you hired me after I left where I used to work, and the connection you had with all of your students, popping your head into every single class. Everyone knew who you were when they graduated. And I couldn't say that about any other owner.
Oh, I just hate those. I hate those directors that hide away in their offices and
so, I mean, you were part of almost every student's graduation. I think every student who graduated from Connect at that time.
Even as we grew, I wanted to be a part of the orientation, and I wanted to be part of the graduation, because I wanted to see growth. Even as we grew a little bit bigger, I wanted to be a part of those two elements of the students' lives, and see what happens to them, because they're great stories that happen to students.
And even when you started your podcast, you had previous students still, you're able to connect with them and share their stories, which is great. So it's really come full circle, which has been really, really nice. And my schedule at the moment, given the time difference, my mornings are busy. I'm doing language coaching, but again, it's what we're about. We're about customizing our lessons for the students. What do you need? What do you want right now?
So how about you personally? How are you doing? How are you feeling?
Well,
because I know Anesh is he's a people person. I mean, he's not going to be ever a person who sits in the office and closes the door. He loves to be around people. The center that he's talking about in Toronto is full of people, full of interesting people. So I wonder how a people person like yourself, how they're doing in this pandemic.
I'm not gonna lie. It was tough not being outside. Like the whole nature of my program, as I used to be a tennis coach way back in the day, and being on the spot language and being out for most of my day.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, how do I do this indoors? And I go, well, where did I get my energy from? Well, I got my energy, like you, from our students, from interacting with them. But it's really, which is why I strongly believe in experiential learning. When you're moving, when you're actively learning and physically moving your body, you're able to grasp and learn that much more. So sitting down like this all day, with your head,
Looking at the
down,
computer
you're hunched over your computer. So I even have students, let's stand up. Okay,
Yeah,
let's move
stand
around.
up,
Let's get
move
that oxygen
around.
flowing.
Yeah, jump up and down, dance.
There's a lot to that blood circulation, getting that oxygen to the brain.
Yeah, I start all my online classes with a song and a dance. I try to dance anyway.
Brilliant.
And some of them are doing some really funny dances now with their computers. They're moving their computers around and their phones, and it's so much fun at the beginning of the class. So when they hear the music come on, which is often music I don't really like or know, but anyways, it's Taylor Swift or something like that. Yeah. And it's very fun. It's fun for the students. So yeah, movement is so important in the online class. You can move them. You can move around. You don't have to be static. So let's talk about some of the online success stories. One of them for me, I just mentioned, I dance at the beginning of every class. I start the class with I bring on the audio first. I turn my camera, I turn my audio off, and then I turn on the audio, and the music starts. And then what happens is the students start popping in the class, pop, 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 pop. They can hear the music, yeah? Oh, class is starting. Yeah. It was a great technique. I got to use this in real life, actually, because it's really a great technique. And then the music comes on, and then sometimes I wear a crazy hat. Sometimes I'm doing something crazy. So they all want to see what's James going to do when he turns on his camera. So it's a good technique. So that was one little success that I've learned. How about you? What successes have you had?
So my successes have come in the forms of personal successes.
This is a family show, Anesh. Yeah, this is a family show.
Successes my students have had. So let me just give you one example of one. So one of my students who had joined On the Spot Language about 2 years ago, her name's Miho, and she was a nurse. And she's like, you know what, Anesh? She just caught a flu. So she, as a nurse, had to go into quarantine.
Oh.
And so the hospital actually provided her with the room in a dorm, like a visiting doctor's dormitory, visiting residence dormitory. And she reached out to me and said, hey, Anesh, I heard you're doing language coaching. Can I do this with you? Yeah. And she had she couldn't meet her family or friends, patients, nobody. And so she wanted to be able to, send her message of as a nurse to the world. And she's like, how do I explain what I'm going through? And I said, okay, well, let's think about, like, she's going to be in this hospital for God knows how long, in quarantine. Let's work through your daily routine. Let's start with, gratitude. I start now, because of her, I start all of my classes with online with a form of, what are you grateful for today?
Yeah, that's a positive message. Yeah, that's a positive
I'm stuck in this room. I'm like, well, are you grateful that you have, food and shelter right now? And they're like, So actually, I said, well, what if she did this every single day, talking about what is she grateful for, developing that mindset of gratitude. And so she started doing this every day, and I would correct her English. And I only met her once a week. And I said, well, next, every day, how about we talk about what was the best part of your day? So finding something good throughout your whole day, there must be something good. She's like, but I'm stuck in my room all day. She's like, well, I did, do 10 sit-ups. I go, great, that's the best part of your day. So she did 10 sit-ups. Then I go, what was the most challenging part of your day? So, and she's like, just not having, access to really good food. I'm stuck with hospital food every day. you know? And then what can you do better tomorrow? So we went through these 4 different topics, and she would have to type out how she feels with these 4 topics every single day and do a 30-second voice recording of how she feels. And then as she started to do this every week, what I would do is I would actually go online, meet with her every week, and we would go through her audio files. I would actually type out and correct all of her little mistakes. Oh, today I got up 7 a.m. No, I got up at 7 a.m. So now she's been in her second month of language coaching with me. And she's like, I have more energy than ever before. She's back to being a nurse in the hospital now. Quarantine time she got better and they put her straight back to work. But now how she even approaches her day as a nurse, she's continuing these routines of daily gratitude.
That's great.
She's continuing these routines of, what was the best part of my day? Even if she feels tired and lonely or something, what was the most challenging part of my day? And in having these as a human being, even in her own language, would be good to do. Let alone
Yeah,
English.
well, I mean, it's the mental aspect, right? And trying to keep positive. And I mean, that's, to me, was a dire, extreme kind of situation where, there is a risk of being, with the virus. And, keeping positive. I mean,
Yeah.
and there's great things being done for senior citizens and the older generation, trying to keep them positive through all of this. So kudos, congratulations on that. That's fantastic. That's a great success story. That is fantastic.
And it's just about developing these daily good English routines. Some people do that by, watching movies all the time. Some people do that by listening to music. Some people do that by listening to podcasts.
But English is also about culture. And, it's very easy. You can get inspired by other cultures. And, working with a tutor or working with a language coach can give you energy, can help you. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And the good thing about, like you had mentioned earlier, they had already developed this relationship with the brand of On the Spot Language. And they were used to some terminology that we use, like, focus sentences. And, they understood when I correct you, I'm not being angry or mean. I'm just going to correct you like this, 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 and this, and this. And they learn from their mistakes. But the good thing that remained true to our core values is developing that daily routine. Like in our program, we run an 8-week, 2-month program where they're with us every single day. So how can they maintain or continue or do some kind of routine in their country on a daily basis to the point where they're just thinking and being able to express their thoughts and feelings naturally in English?
Now, I've had some great success reaching out to people that probably otherwise wouldn't have time to help me as a teacher because, life and they're busy. But now they're sitting at home looking for something to do. One of the projects that I had our students do was to create a website. They were creating a website. Different teams were creating a website because my class got up to like 35 people. It was getting big. So I had to break them up into teams. And they were creating a website about how to improve your English and sharing their experiences and sharing their tips. And then I got the website evaluated by, some professional website designers. And that was really fun. And we just did comic books. And we're going to have a comic book writer on who does ESL comics, and he's going to send us some notes on comic books. I hope he will. Anyways, I'm going to reach out to him to do that, and it's fun to get professional people to look at the work of students because they have time now. Have you done anything with working with professionals or working with people outside? I mean, you mentioned that a bit at the beginning, I guess, bringing in some people from your building. Have you had them do any projects, anything like that?
I don't know if it's as much as projects, but little tasks that they can do, which is customized to their lives. So, for example, one of my students, Takuma, his company actually makes cardboard boxes for Amazon in Japan.
That's a good business.
Imagine
Huge.
their business. Right.
It reminds me of Parasite, the scene in Parasite where they're making the pizza box.
That's exactly, it's crazy. He works with these big machines. He's like, I want to be able to talk to the other employees and talk about the step-by-step process that we do to make these cardboard boxes. And right now, there's nothing like that in English. I said, okay, so try to type it out or write it out in as well as you can in broken English. And so I taught him how to say some of these sentences like, step 1, do this, step 2, do that. And he could actually talk about his job, and that was his task for that week. Talk about the roles and responsibilities you have at your father's company. And that was one of his goals when I did that initial orientation or questionnaire with him. He's like, I want to be able to use English at my father's company.
Yeah.
As
great.
he's doing the roles and responsibilities at his job, he said, I'm now putting the box on the conveyor belt. I'm now putting the box on the conveyor belt. I'm now, like, imagine that routine of saying that through 1,000 boxes later.
That's great.
But
That's great.
He's having that was one of his tasks. Another one of my students loves podcasts. I actually sent her to your podcast.
Oh, good.
And she started listening to them. And I said, find some words, idioms, because James is always teaching, what does quarantine mean? Or, go through some of the podcasts and pick out some words or things that you didn't know before and practice your listening that way.
Right.
It's so great because it's so easy to understand. He speaks clearly, but then he has these guests on that just, they speak really fast. So it was a good challenge for her. But, because you're not just interviewing people, you're teaching stuff as well. So she could use that as an educational tool. Yeah,
absolutely. It's fascinating. And one that I always do, I don't know, it's kind of like my fallback now. I really love to do it when I'm teaching anything digital, and it's a film festival. We held a film festival. It really, when you're starting online and doing digital teaching or anything online, everybody is so nervous and shy, self-conscious, a lot of negativity about being online because you're looking at yourself in this camera, right? You don't feel natural. Yeah. And so the first project I did, which really helped the whole class, was a film festival. And they didn't have to be on camera. They created some amazing animation films. Some did a meme film, M-E-M-E, with little crazy sayings. Some took clips from, I had no idea. I'm teaching students from all over the world, and they're picking out clips from The Office, the TV show The Office, which it's an American show. It was popular, but I didn't expect it to be a worldwide, popular show. They made all of these great, and we had an Academy Awards Oscar ceremony at the end, where I gave them out certificates for best editing and best direction and best actors and then best picture. And one boy who won, him and his family, they were screaming. They had his camera off, and they were screaming. And I said, "What's going on?" "Oh, my parents are so happy I won." And I said, "Well, turn on your camera. Let me see what's going on behind there." And he goes, "I can't because we are all naked. We just had a bath."
Oh my God, we're all
naked. A little bit of a Zoom problem there. Yeah. But it was a really funny moment. And, that moment or those moments, make the class. That set up the whole personality and atmosphere of the class. So doing some of these projects, some of these ideas can really help your students in English and all of that, but it can help with your class and the personality of the class. And now when people are entering my class as new students, there's all of these videos being popped around, and they're all on their own little chat groups. And when I make a team, they go off in their own chat groups, and they connect all through the week, whether it's WhatsApp, whether it's WeChat, whether it's Messenger, whatever they feel comfortable. They're all chatting with each other. And I say, "Hey, did you tell them about the assignment for Thursday?" They go, yeah, we told them. "Don't worry, James. Don't worry. It's all good." So it's a different way of teaching. It's a different style, but it's quite fascinating. And the students are much more independent, I think, in some respects. If you give them the independence, you give them. But if you don't establish that from the beginning, the class can run into trouble, I think. So
that's great. I love the movie idea. I did something with some of my students where they each recorded one line of a song.
Oh, cool.
and then pitched it together. And
I'm going to steal that idea. I'm going to steal that idea.
So
That is
and especially
awesome.
Especially with some students who are in a lower level, like they
Yes.
can't remember an entire song.
Right.
They remembered one line, but even just that one line with the right intonation and the pitch and everything else.
What song was it?
I did Bad English.
Bad
When
English.
I see you smile. When I see you smile.
Well, I hope you're not singing it anyways. Okay.
Oh. And it was the students each doing one line, and it's one of the most treasured memories that they have.
Did you record it?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. You got to send me the link. You got to send me the link. I really want to see it. Okay, I want to show my students.
Yeah, it's great.
I want to show my students that I want to do another version. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's like this. As each student is telling their line, I'm like, okay, that's this guy's from Russia. This guy's from. Like, you can hear the accents. You
can hear the accent.
It was awesome.
That's fantastic.
But they were like my level 3 reading and listening class, and it was just was great.
Yeah,
but bringing that energy and that fun and the innovation, just it goes a long way. I mean, you just posted about your students creating a comic with you in it. Awesome.
So if you see it it's on my Instagram page, Connect with James. If you see it, they created this comic of how James became Tom Cruise, and Tom Cruise was injected with Thor juice from Marvel Endgame's Thor. Remember when he became really fat and bald, and then he became James. That's what happened. Tom Cruise became James by injecting with Thor. So I'm going with I'm Thor now.
Nice. The Tom Cruise joke. I'm just curious because every time you introduced yourself, there's a story to that. Was this comic before or after you started? Oh, some people call me Tom Cruise, Yeah,
my Tom Cruise joke is getting old now. Some students don't know who Tom Cruise is. But that's how long I've been teaching English and how long I've been using the joke. So when I first started teaching English, I taught in Japan, and teaching in Japan, I was often teaching high school kids or very low level students because at that time, Anesh, there wasn't a lot of English teaching going on.
Right.
I think there were only 4 or 5 foreigners in the city in Japan I was in.
Time, right.
So it was more the fact that they were never being taught English by a foreigner. That was still a relatively new idea. So I went into they were so shy to speak English. I mean, if you teach English to Japanese students, they are of course very shy and a little bit nervous. Not so much nowadays. I find the generations to be much more open. But when I was teaching 20 some odd years ago, they were really shy, incredibly shy. So the lessons were only 45 minutes or so, 45 minutes. So you'd have to spend 20 minutes trying to get them to relax. And then you got no time left to actually teach them anything. And so it became very frustrating. So, I just said, what's your name? And they would say, oh, it's Anesh Daya. And my name is Tom Cruise. And then they would crack up, start laughing. And that's what it became, Tom Cruise. Yeah. And then new students.
Once you develop that comfort level right from the beginning.
James is Tom Cruise, and they would giggle. So rather than spending 20 minutes trying to loosen up the class, I'd have to spend 2 or 3 minutes giggling, laughing at me. James has no hair. James is bald. James is not Tom Cruise. And then we're into the class. And so I've always stayed with that Tom Cruise joke. So that's how I introduce myself to my students. I say, hi, I'm Tom Cruise.
Nice.
Be crazy and be crazy.
That's brilliant.
In my class. So that's how it started. Just out of desperation to try to get energy in my class early on. And now it's a little harder. So now I got to come up with a new guy.
Yeah, right. It's well, speaking of that, just getting the class going, like you said, dancing and all that. I find just going for like either a morning run or doing some exercise in the morning, get that heart pumping before your online class. Just a tip for, tutors or teachers out there if they're doing online.
Well, it definitely helps you, but how do you get the students to wake up? That was my challenge. How do you get them for me, I'm teaching students that are in Asia right now, mostly
Right.
students that are in Asia. And so they're tired. They just spent,
Yeah.
12 hours out of school in China, and they're dying, right? I mean, they don't want to learn English now at 9 o'clock at night. They want to go to bed. And so you better have some energy. You better bring it, and you better get them pumped up. So that was my new challenge. After we got more comfortable, at first it was a novelty to have a foreigner teach you,
Right.
and come into your home and on your home computer. But now, that wore off. So I had to create another idea to get that energy back up, because I could sense it dripping away from me.
The challenge I've had is because the time difference is another 12 or 13 hours, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm doing it in the morning, it's evening
night,
there, and they're like,
yeah.
So the parents are sleeping. It's late. Yeah. They can't really be, screaming and dancing and listening to music really loudly. Right. So what I do is I do a little bit of, breathing work, breath work with them. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah.
So just to get them more focused, as opposed to like, I'm still going to bring the energy. I'm still going to bring it. But if they're more like focused on their breath and their focus is there, then I'd rather that than them to be like a ball of energy. So we do some breath work, some mini, incantations.
What is that? You better explain that. What is incantation?
So an incantation is a phrase that you can repeat, or a series of phrases you repeatedly say to get you focused or motivated. It could be something like I talked about earlier, like grateful. What are you grateful for? So, okay, tell me 5 things you're grateful. I'm grateful for Anesh. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my coworkers. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for Anesh. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my coworkers. And just that constant repetition. And gratitude is one of the great kind of incantations you can do also.
That's a good one.
One of the ones that one of my other students is like, my English is getting better every day. My English is getting better every day. My English is getting, anything that's an affirmation as well in there.
Yeah. Speaking of breathing, you were talking about, the nighttime difference. And I was asking one student, I don't remember, I asked her a question, and she turned on her microphone and she was answering it. But in the background, there was this.
No.
And I'm like, who's that in the background? Oh, that's my mom. And I'm going, wow, you got to tell your mom, you got to turn that volume down. She was really snoring. It was really funny. Right. We were cracking up and we were just laughing. The snoring was so loud in the background. So you never know what you hear with the Zoom classes and what's going on in the background.
Wow. And
Anyways, we can talk for days with Anesh, Daya. We can talk for days about stories, but I'm happy. What I'm happy about is the success you're having with online teaching. And I'm really happy to hear that you've got the great support from your past students. And that just shows the quality of the program and the quality of the person. Thank you so much, Anesh, for coming on and talking with us today.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate the opportunity. The first time in 2020 to be on the show, and looking forward to be back and possibly give some more online tips and some other things that I'm going to be trying out in the months to come. We'll see where we go. And like you predicted years and years ago, the world is online. The future of ESL is, you've been preaching it for years. Like, why didn't everyone just listen to James like 10 years ago? Come on.
Yeah, that was the vision. It's finally upon us, for better or worse. 2020, Teacher 2020. That was our commercial. All right, take care, Anesh. Thank you.
Take care.
Have you subscribed to James's newsletter? When you subscribe, you will receive a free Study It ESL textbook. Visit www.thejamesriceshow.com for more information and join today.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to the James Rice Show. And it's that time of the show where we take a look at where and who is listening to the James Rice Show. And back on top in our number one spot is Brazil. Nice to have our Brazilians back, and I'm following what's going on down there with the coronavirus, and please take care. Please take care. Nice to see you guys in the number one spot. And number two, Ireland. You guys really jumped up this week, so I don't know what happened in Ireland, but thank you guys for listening. That's fantastic. And number three was Panama. Nice. Welcome. Panama, that's a new country for us, Stephanie. That's fantastic. Number four, USA. Number five, Korea. Number 6, Russia. Number 7, Canada. Canada, Mom, what's going on? You're not listening enough. Next is Japan. Number 9 is Saudi Arabia. And number 10, France. So thank you to all of you for listening to the James Rice Show each week. And we can't have this podcast and present this information without you tuning in. So listening, that means, to us. And thank you, everybody, for your continued support. And please remember, always remember, very important, be crazy.
Thanks for listening to The James Rice Show. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter and send us your questions or comments at www.thejamesriceshow.com.